For this Newcastle area, the new year came in with a bang, a midnight thunderstorm and a violent one. But it was nothing compared with the fury of the storm that broke over the Lower Hunter early this afternoon. In Newcastle itself, this is what most people saw of today's downpour as they scurried for cover from the beach, the races or wherever the weather was spoiling their particular holiday. But it was worse elsewhere. 3 children are in hospital, victims of a falling tree in West Wallsend. 3 more teenagers are injured after a Wallsend shop awning crashed down on their parked car. Hundreds of others have minor injuries, mostly glass cuts from the thousands of broken windows in a dozen suburbs. And there are also lashing roofs, waterlogged stock in hundreds of shops, ruined gardens and shattered holidays. The thunderstorms, with their accompanying heavy showers, have dampened holidaying Australia from Melbourne to the Queensland border. But the damaging hail was confined only to the Newcastle area and its near north. The storm began with wild wind in the northern Lake Macquarie area, and Nesca crews will be busy all night repairing fallen power lines. Then came the hail, pounding first into Charlestown and Waratah at opposite ends of Newcastle. Then it moved on to Lambton, Jesmond and Birmingham Gardens, raking the heights from Merewether to New Lambton on the way with hail as big as ping-pong balls. And in a final lash, the storm turned on Wallsend and West Wallsend, bringing down more trees and power lines. The greatest fury of all descended on Bulahdelah, where hailstones as big as 4 inches across have been reported. Hail, like cricket balls, driven almost horizontally by a swirling wind, tore the roof from the golf club, smashed every window in some streets and tore down trees and power lines. Fallen trees blocked the roads to Foster, Seal Rocks and Bombar Point. And fallen power lines for a time blocked the Pacific Highway. They fell across a car, but miraculously the driver and passengers all escaped injury. So did the campers from 5 caravans. All were empty when the tornado wind caught them, swirled them into the air, tore them to pieces and scattered the remains over half a mile area. Cars in the area show hail dents and all have broken windows. Trees up to 2 feet through were snapped like matches by the wind, yet a few miles away there was no storm at all. Tea Gardens reported rain, little wind and no hail. It was the same at Karua and Raymond Terrace, but there was heavy rain at Williamtown, 67 points of it in the 20-minute storm. At Stockton, the brief but violent wind tore down tents in the camping ground, but there was no hail to add to the damage. Nor was there any violence in the rainstorms which swept over Cessnock, Maitland and Singleton. And even before the rain stopped, the clean-up began. It was the same story through most of Newcastle's western suburbs, a succession of windows to be mended and gardens to be replanted. Fraser Street in Jesmond was a typical one. Not a house in the street escaped hail damage. Every west-facing window showed a sign of the storm which in this area swept in from that direction. For the womenfolk, it was a heartbreaking job mopping up the sodden floors, collecting the glass fragments and trying to make good the damage to bedding, curtains and carpets. Outside it was just as bad, with glass houses in shambles, shed roofs hammered like colanders and broken glass littering wrecked gardens. In Charlestown, this was only one of the shops to lose its street window. The hail drove the glass in on the stock, so the damage was more widespread than shown from the outside. And everywhere the drains couldn't cope with the load. Hail clogged the gutters, so the water ran everywhere it could. For those in the path of today's hail gale, the new year had a wet and windy beginning. And even if the sun shines, tomorrow will be a workday of necessity.